Thank you. Who am I talking to? Because today wanted to go into a few things that I think are meaningful for the devotees. You, the assembled devotees. Ooh, Hare Krishna. The assembled devotees. But before we begin some reading from Bhagavad Gita and some other discussion, let's sing. I hope most of you know this song. You've been coming here, so please sing along. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashoda Nandana Rajadana Ramjana Yashoda Nandana Rajadana Ramjana Yamuna Tira Gunachari Yamuna Tira Gunachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashoda Nandana Vrajana Ramjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajana Ramjana Yamuna Tira Gunachari Yamuna Tira Gunachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Before we begin our talk tonight, I want to do something that we did maybe about 3-4 weeks ago. I'd like some help here to pass out these cards. Who can help? There, a couple of people. And on the ladies' side? Okay, split it up and you can. So, what this is, it's a little card. It has a QR code on it, and I think most of you know how to use this. You point your phone's camera at it, and it will come up with a link that you can click on, and then you'll go to a website. A web page, and the web page is a survey. We've started surveying our community. Last month we began, about the middle of August. How many of you have already done this? Raise your hand if you've already received one of these. Okay, so not so many of you. So please try to do this. I was going to take time out right now and have you do it right here, but I think we'll not do that this time. But please try to do this today, tomorrow, while you're waiting in line. Basically, what we're asking you, first of all, to complete your information, because many of you, I think, how many of you receive our weekly newsletters in the email? Raise your hand if you receive the weekly newsletter. Okay, so many of you are not receiving it, so that's the first thing. You should be receiving our weekly newsletter. Second thing is that how many of you get every year our calendar in the mail? Again, most of you are not getting it. So if you give your mailing address, then you're going to get a very beautiful calendar with all the dates of all the special days, and it's in picture, very beautiful photographs of Radha Govinda. And lastly, but most important, this survey is going to help us understand your interests and your needs and how we can serve you spiritually. And one more thing, if you put your birthday in, you'll get a nice birthday card, email greeting from Radha Govinda servants here every year on your birthday. So please do this survey. Keep the card, it's very convenient. You just scan the code and fill it out. Okay? Thank you so much. Before we begin, we'll invoke the blessings of Sri Krishna with the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So our general tradition, let's see, this is going to work here, okay. A second. Okay. Is to read from the Bhagavad Gita today. So I chose a verse. The speakers are given the liberty to choose a verse that they would like to speak about. So I chose a verse that is one of the 4 verses that are considered to be the essence of the Gita, found in the 10th chapter. And I chose this because I feel it was somewhat relevant to me, and I wanted to explore it more. Those of us who have the opportunity to sit here and speak with you get a great benefit that we, to prepare ourselves, we go into and try to understand what we're going to talk about. Of course, sometimes it's sprung on and we have to. Prabhupada told us that we should be ready to speak about Krishna at a drop of a hat, as they say. But today I had an opportunity to look at this particular verse from various angles and found some interesting different dimensions, and I'd like to share those with you. As well as I would like to spend some time this evening talking about Srila Prabhupada. How many of you came here for Janmashtami? Many of you? So, okay. But I don't think many of you came the next day for Srila Prabhupada's birthday celebrations. This is Vyas Puja. Anyone here? Some of you did, yes. A few of you did. We had a wonderful celebration on that day. And this celebration, we call it Vyas Puja, honoring Srila Prabhupada, is an opportunity for us to reflect on the gifts that he has given us. But it's also, this particular time of year, it's also an opportunity to reflect on his extraordinary sacrifice. And I'll take some time to speak a little bit about that also. So the verse that I selected is the 10th verse of the 10th chapter. So I'll repeat this verse. If you want to look it up on your phone, you can. There's a very easy way to find the verses of the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. You go to Google and you just simply type for Gita, just BG, and then the chapter and verse. So here would be BG 10.10, right? And that will take you to a link to Vedabase.io, which is an online repository of all of, not all of Srila Prabhupada's books, but almost all of Srila Prabhupada's books, in many different languages as well. So it's a really, really wonderful resource. So that's what I'm reading from right now. And I'll just, because most of you don't read, we are lacking some of our tech team are off on a retreat, so I can't show it up on the screen here. So I'm just going to repeat this verse. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. The translation: to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this verse, the word buddhi yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter of the Lord, instructing Arjuna, the Lord said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now, buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called buddhi yoga. In other words, buddhi yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna. And when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life, but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but if he's still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna. And that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to Him. It's the end of his purport. I chose this verse because I very much identify with the last paragraph, where Prabhupada speaks, if a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, so many times I find myself in situations where I'm just not using intelligence sufficiently. But I'm trying to be sincere. I'm trying to stay on this path and make this my goal. Prabhupada, in the first paragraph, tells us something really interesting. He says, one should know that the goal is Krishna. Now, I'm going to ask all of you, how many of you agree that the goal is Krishna? Raise your hand. Do you agree? The goal of life. How many of you have something other than that? You have another goal. Get rich, perhaps. Become famous. Enjoy the world. No? That's not your goal. We're here, we're offering you, we're suggesting to all of you that the goal of life is Krishna. To go back to Him. This verse, what does Krishna say? I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Now, more questions. How many of you are reading the Bhagavad Gita? Okay. If you don't have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, then don't leave here without one. Right? And if you can start, if you haven't begun a practice of reading the Gita, please do so. Just a little bit every day. You'll find in the Gita how many times, I haven't done this exercise, but there must be scores. That word's not used so much anymore. Scores, what's a score? Who knows what a score is? We don't even use the word. A score is 20. So it was an old English way of counting. But tens, we all know tens, maybe hundreds of times, Krishna says, come to me, you can come to me. We just celebrated Janmashtami, and in discussing Srila Prabhupada, when he talks about the observance of Janmashtami, he often quotes another verse from the Gita, where Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti. The same word, mam, upayanti, mam, eti, come to me, come to me, come to me. Don't stay in this world. Now you may think, well, what choice do I have? We all have a choice. We provide this human life is an opportunity to get free. To get free. To go back to Krishna. So the goal is Krishna. And then Prabhupada says something interesting, that when the goal is assigned, when you make Krishna your goal, when you say to yourself and to Krishna, I want to go back home to you. I want freedom. I want relief from this repeated cycle of birth and death and old age and disease. I want to be with you, Krishna. when you make that your goal, Prabhupada says here, when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed and the ultimate goal is achieved. All you actually have to do is make this your goal. And Krishna will do the rest. Krishna will do the rest. He will, from within you and from outside, through the devotees, He will guide you. Now, it's up to us how quickly we can traverse this path, how many times we go off for a little detour here or there, and we attempt or fall back, you could say, into our habits, because we're conditioned. We've been in this world forever. On Tuesday night, we gathered at 26 2nd Avenue to honor, to glorify Srila Prabhupada. And one of his leading and senior disciples was present there, Rameshwar Prabhu, who began to expound on this a little bit. He was describing, just look where we are. Just look where we are. He began by saying, in the Gita, Krishna says, never was there a time when I did not exist. Never was there a time when you did not exist. There was never a time when you did not exist. That means, this is how, then he went on, Rameshwar Prabhu was going on, well, what does that mean? How old is our universe? By mundane, the science, well, how old do they, I think they calculate, I don't know how many billions of years, right? So that means that we have been here in this universe because we've entered in. We enter into this universe when it comes into being. We come into this universe. We've been here billions and billions of years. We are here. And the universe is just halfway through its life according to the calculation of the life of Brahma. We could stay here for another billions and billions of years and then enter back into this sleeping state and then come into another universe, and this could go on as it has been going on forever. We've been locked up because we turned from Krishna to this world. Krishna gives us this freedom. Krishna has given us this independence. He won't force us. But if we make this move, if we say, I accept Krishna, you are the true goal, then we're captured. He says yes. And he begins to show us the path. And as Prabhupada says here, when the goal is assigned and the path is slowly, it may be slow, but it's progressively traversed and the ultimate goal is achieved. In the last paragraph, as I said, I've taken some special meaning to this because Prabhupada begins by saying, a person may have a bona fide spiritual master. I certainly have the most. And you do too, if you are willing. Srila Prabhupada, he's available to all of you as your spiritual master to instruct you. His disciples are there to help you. The disciples of his disciples are there. One of them may also, of any of these, of course Srila Prabhupada is not present to initiate you, to accept your vows, but his disciples are there, the disciples of his disciples are there. You can connect yourself with this sampradaya. You can connect yourself with the entire parampara of great acharyas. They're there. One of the acharyas who comments on this particular verse makes the point that this verse is evidence of the existence of such persons. That these devotees are here, they're present. We can connect with them. But even if we do, and then Prabhupada says, and may be attached to a spiritual organization, like we are here. We're all attached to ISKCON. All of you who come here, you're all the members of ISKCON. But if he's still not intelligent enough to make progress, so what is that intelligence? Intelligence is a very interesting feature in our lives, isn't it? It's hard exactly to pinpoint what is intelligence. We often think of mind, the realm, the inner realm, within which there is a pool of experience, combining thoughts, words, a voice. There are, of course, various impressions through the senses. All of this is going on in our mental, subtle body. We call this our subtle body. We have our gross body, but then we have another body, a subtle body, a body that we can't see in the mirror. When we look in the mirror, we just see the gross body. But we all are aware of another body, isn't it? I mean, all of us. Unless there's some robots. Are there any robots in the room? No? No robots here? They don't have a subtle body. Outside they may appear just like, and there's some of you, perhaps you, the young girl there, you will see some robots. I may not live to see those robots, but you're going to see them. And you're going to sometimes wonder, what's going on here? Are they alive or not alive or what? Because they'll look just like us. They will. Almost there. I mean, there are some that I think one Middle Eastern country awarded citizenship to one of them because they looked so. I don't remember the name. Anyway, but I assume there's none of those robots here in this room. Rather, we are all living beings. We're conscious beings. That's the one thing that we all know, without a doubt. There's one thing that every one of us know without any doubt, I exist. I'm aware. And as I said, I don't think you're all robots or my imagination, and I believe you are also all aware. You're all conscious beings. And what you're aware of, you're aware of the world outside of you, but you're aware of also your inner world, your subtle body. And in that body, Krishna describes that it has three primary components. There's a mind, there's a mental manas, there's an ego or ahankara, a sense of identity, and there's buddhi, there's intelligence. And what is that? What is that intelligence? It's described in various ways to be the faculty of discrimination. It's when, I very much appreciate a description by a friend of mine who's doing this thing called Atma Paradigm. And there he describes that the intelligence is like the gatekeeper. When you all these impressions, all these thoughts, all these sensory inputs are there coming in through the mind, and then there's this gatekeeper who directs the attention. Okay, we're going to put our attention over here. We're going to put our attention over here, or we're going to, maybe try to give some value to this. And a lesser value to that. And in this way, we have this intelligence which is attempting to fulfill our desires. It's all rooted in our desire. And if our intelligence is not mature because of our desires, then Prabhupada says here, if we don't have that discrimination based on our experience and our capacity to discriminate, then Krishna will push us. He says, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. How? What? Then, but Prabhupada gives us, there's some qualification. In order for Krishna to do that, we have to do something ourselves. It begins with our desire. We have to want, we have to fix ourselves, and we have to at least try to bring forth that sincerity. And Krishna will help us with that too, because he'll give us some intelligence to examine. Is this really what you want? Is that really what you want? What do you really, really want? He'll help us to understand who we are. What is our relationship with him? And how we can truly be happy. And if we respond, then what we'll do is we'll begin to serve. We'll find some way to serve Krishna. He's given us many ways. What we're doing now is service. We're all sitting here, listening. My service is to speak. Your service is to hear. This is called, you are engaged in Shravanam, which is the hearing. I'm engaged in the Kirtanam, which is the speaking. And together we're doing Sankirtan. We're engaged in this service to Krishna by hearing, speaking. This particular verse that we're talking about is quoted 3 times in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the purport to the first time, Srila Prabhupada describes that the devotees who are described here, because this is part of a series of verses, the previous verse, Madchita Madgata Prana Bodhiyatas Parasparam, is talking about those pure devotees. And Prabhupada describes here, such pure devotees, always merged in knowledge of Krishna and absorbed in Krishna consciousness, exchange thoughts and realizations as great scientists, exchange their views and discuss the results of their research in scientific academies. Such exchanges of thoughts in regard to Krishna give pleasure to the Lord, who therefore favors such devotees with all enlightenment. Gathering together here like we're doing today, and I encourage you all to make this a regular practice. Sitting, hearing, discussing, listening, absorbing. This gives pleasure to Krishna. Krishna is pleased by this. And as he's pleased, he says, this is yuktanam, this is satata yuktanam. By being absorbed, yukta, then he will give us from within. He'll reveal himself more and more. Atak Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayam Indraye Sevam Kehi Jivadho Sayameva Suratyara. By our physical senses, by our own limited intelligence, we cannot understand Krishna. But if we serve, Sevan Mukhehi Jivado, beginning with our tongues, by chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, everyone, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You'll notice the more you come and associate with the Sangha of ISKCON devotees, that whenever any speaker like me or anyone starts to say the mantra, everyone joins in, right? Let's do it again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sevan Mukhehi Jivado, by chanting his names and eating his prasadam, which is the next thing. We please him. He's pleased by this. Why is he pleased? Is he some egoist that just likes to hear his name called? Yeah, there are people like that. There are. You think there are? Yeah, there are. Like me. Like me. Oh, my name? Oh, yes. No. He's pleased when we chant his names. He's pleased when we hear about him. He's pleased when we worship him. Because we're coming closer to him. We're beginning to love him. And that's what he wants. He does want our love. That is actually what he wants. He doesn't care about our, intelligence, so to speak. He's looking for our love. Because he loves us. He loves us unconditionally. And he doesn't want us to continue to suffer in this world simply because we've turned our backs to him, when it is our rightful place to be with him in his spiritual world, free of death, free of any suffering, full of unlimited happiness and pleasure. So, if we do this, if we serve, we begin thy service. In the verse that we purport, we say that he should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. Do something for Krishna with love, not looking for something. Don't be the pious person that goes to the temple and makes prayers in order to achieve some material benefit only. Give something, even Krishna says, just, how's it going? Phalam toyam, patra pushpam phalam toyam, yo me bhaktiya prayashti. Just a leaf, even, a flower, you give to Krishna. He'll accept that, and with love. Yo me bhaktya prayashtiti. Give with bhakti. You accept that. And then, if we're sincere in this and devoted to this path, the Lord will give us every chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. This is his promise. Now it is nearly, 60 years. Next year will mark the 60th anniversary of when Srila Prabhupada left India to come here to New York to begin giving us this knowledge. On this day, well, I'm just going to spend the next few minutes talking about the significance of this. But before, how many of you have watched the movie Hare Krishna, the mantra, the movement of the Swami who started it all? Yeah? Many of you, but many of you haven't. Okay, it's now free. It's now. It was. You got to rent it before, but now it's now. It's really available on. I think on YouTube now. If you haven't done so, please watch this movie. And be touched, as everyone who watches it is, by the depth of Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice. Let's, with your permission, let's just reflect a little bit on this. The story begins in 1922. India is in the midst of independence movements. And a young man, Abhay Charan, he's known at that time, was a student in the Scottish Church's College and an adherent to the movement of Gandhi and the independence movement. He had grown up a Vaishnava, had grown up as a devotee of Krishna. From his very childhood, he was devoted to Krishna. Near his father's, near their house in Calcutta. Any of you from Calcutta? Any Bengalis? Yeah? So you know, yesterday there was a celebration by most of the Bengali community of Janmashtami, so I think many are tuckered out from that. It went a long time. But in Calcutta there's a central business area called the Bodo Bazaar. And Srila Prabhupada's father was a cloth merchant there. That's where he grew up. And just opposite nearly opposite where they had their residence was the temple of Sri Sri Radha Govinda. So here we have the temple of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, and Srila Prabhupada grew up with Sri Sri Radha Govinda in Calcutta, worshipping them. But he had become a bit impatient with the sadhus of the time. He was not quite impressed with the sadhus who would come to his father's house. So when his friend asked him, told him, please come, I've met someone extraordinary, he was reluctant, but he was finally convinced and went in 1922, sometime, we're not quite sure when, but he went to the headquarters of the first building of the Gaudiya mission at number 1 Ultadanga Road, and met His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and was completely taken. Practically before he said hello, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur noted him as an educated young man and said, you're educated. You should take this mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spread it in the English-speaking languages. This was 1922. By the way, anyway, we'll try to finish up quickly so you can get in line, although it won't be served for another 10 minutes. But some of you, I guess, are anxious. And I'll try to go quickly. So in 1922, he accepted in his heart Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his spiritual master. He accepted this mission to spread Krishna consciousness in the Western world, but he had no means to do so. He thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I'll need money. So he invested himself in his business. He was a savvy businessman. He grew his business. He was in the pharmaceuticals, had a Prayag pharmacy, he opened a branch in Allahabad and then one in Mumbai. He was doing very well. In around 1950, there was an opportunity to maybe get something started in Jhansi. He was there for some time, trying to lay some groundwork of what he called the League of Devotees. He began publishing the Back to Godhead periodical, and he was translating and writing articles, preparing himself. Somewhere around I don't have the exact year, but 1953, 54, I believe it was, there was a disaster. His employees stole all the money of his business. He was penniless. From that position, he didn't give up hope, but he dedicated himself even more fully. He ultimately took sannyas, I think it was 1958, and began to prepare himself. How am I going? He kept this, he had no idea how to do it. Now he had no money. He had no resource. He asked various members of his organization, the Gaudiya mission, if they would help him. But by that time, the mission had kind of broken up in various ways. And he just begged, and he begged. Ultimately, he sat on the doorstep of a wealthy Sindhi lady named Sumati Morarji in Bombay, and just sat there until she would give him audience. He begged her. She was so reluctant. You're an old man. By this time, he's nearly 68, 69. You'll die on this voyage. But he was adamant. And finally, she offered him passage on the Jaladuta. He boarded that ship. We just celebrated about 2 weeks ago his boarding of the Jaladuta. He was offered a very nice accommodation. But the time is August, and August, and those of you who are familiar with India know that this is the monsoon season. And the ships of those days, and today, would have to traverse the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea during heavy rains, and it wasn't the most pleasant time. The ocean was, he became terribly seasick. Terribly, terribly seasick. And he writes, if I can find it, yes. Yesterday, August 31st, he kept a diary. And on August 31st, he wrote, "Passed over a great crisis on the struggle for life and death. A separate statement has to be written on this crisis area. What actually occurred? He had a heart attack on the ship. But as he said, he passed over this great crisis. He later revealed, oh, you're having a crisis too. This crisis is nothing. She will survive. Won't you? Will you survive? Yes. Radha Govinda will help you. Prabhupada tells us that we should chant Hare Krishna like a child crying for mother. You see? She was crying, she's crying. Now she's going to mother. And now, she's in the arms of her mother. And everything is good. That's the mood we should chant the Maha Mantra. You agree? See? Now she's happy. But Prabhupada's crisis was a real crisis of life and death. In fact, we just were reading, on that day, we were reading an interview with the captain of the ship who told us that when, this day, because this is now September 1st, correct? So, on this day, he wrote that he was in Port Suez. So they arrived in the Port Suez. And the captain of the ship relates how they disembarked. And at one point, Srila Prabhupada spoke to him and said, I don't think I can do this. I think I'll leave. I'll go to Cairo and find your office and go back. Captain Pandey responded and said, how can you do that, Swamiji? Your company will be okay, don't worry. He never went to Cairo. He stayed on the ship. He continued. Now they passed through the Suez Canal and went towards the Atlantic. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda. The sea became calm. He dreamt that Krishna was taking him. And in a few days, I think it's September 17th, or 18th, September 18th, he'll arrive in the Boston Harbor. So let's reflect. We're going to end here. But let's take this opportunity in these days. The Vyas Puja has completed. You can see some of the offerings behind here by the children. There's a book here that my wife Atita Guna has helped put together of the various offerings from the devotees. Please look at this and reflect on this gift that Srila Prabhupada gave. And join us in following him. Don't think that, well, Krishna is going to give me all intelligence. He says here he's going to give me all intelligence. I don't need anyone else, no. That is for those who are satata yuktanam, who are constantly, then Krishna within will start to really do magic. But for us, we need Krishna's guidance, both within and from the spiritual master. So take advantage, read Srila Prabhupada's books, chant the holy names of Krishna, and let Krishna take you back home. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Sorry I didn't give enough time for questions, but please enjoy the prasad. Hare Krishna. And please fill out the survey.
You have a meeting? I'm coming to play, but okay. Maybe they took it back inside the office? Yeah, maybe. Where is that? It's in the back there. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. I think there is in the. I need to. I'll be right back at 2 minutes. Jasomati Nandana Brajavarana Gokula Jasomati Nandana